Let's begin by recognizing something fundamental. The human body, especially as we age, thrives on rhythm. Every morning, your body wakes with a remarkable capacity to reset, to repair, and to renew. Yet, how we greet the morning, or more precisely, how we nourish ourselves at the start of the day, determines whether that natural rhythm works for us or against us. You see, morning nutrition is not just about feeding hunger, it's about signaling vitality. When you wake, your cells are in a state of readiness, like a team waiting for instruction. They're asking, what's our mission today? Are we building, repairing, or just surviving? The first nutrients you provide answer that question. And when you feed your body with intention, with food that supports strength and clarity, you activate the biological systems that maintain health and slow decline. Most people underestimate this. They think breakfast doesn't matter, I'll just grab coffee and get moving. But for the elderly, and really for anyone seeking longevity, that approach quietly erodes resilience. After a night's rest, your blood sugar is low, your digestive system is ready to absorb, and your hormones are primed to respond. It's a moment of potential. Skip it, and your body compensates by drawing energy from your reserves, muscle, brain glycogen, and even mood stability. Feed it right, and you set off a cascade of biochemical messages that sustain energy, sharpen focus, and strengthen your immune defenses throughout the day. Think of breakfast as your body's daily reset button. Not just a meal, but a message. What you eat each morning literally teaches your cells how to behave for the next 24 hours. Are they fighting inflammation or feeding it? Are they repairing tissue or breaking it down? That's the level of influence your morning meal holds. A quiet but profound act of self-care. Science supports this. Studies in nutritional biochemistry and gerontology consistently show that older adults who eat a balanced breakfast rich in whole foods maintain better muscle function, memory, and mood stability. Their insulin sensitivity improves, their cardiovascular markers stabilize, and their energy levels remain more consistent throughout the day. In essence, breakfast becomes a biological investment, compounding interest in the form of longevity and strength. But there's also a deeper, almost philosophical layer here. Eating in the morning is not only a physical act, it's a psychological declaration. It says, I choose to begin my day with nourishment, not neglect. For many elderly individuals, life can sometimes feel like a gradual narrowing, fewer activities, less appetite, less engagement. But the morning meal can become an anchor, a daily moment of intention and participation in one's own well-being. It's a ritual that reaffirms autonomy and purpose. When you rise and prepare a meal, something simple, wholesome, rich with color and texture, you are engaging in an act of self-respect. You are acknowledging your own worthiness of care. This is deeply important because one of the hidden factors in aging is not just physical decline, but the subtle erosion of self-agency. A meaningful morning routine, beginning with thoughtful nourishment, restores that sense of agency. It says, I am still in charge of how I live this day. It's interesting to note that cultures known for longevity, from Okinawa to Sardinia, share one trait: they start the day with intention. Their morning meals are modest, often humble, but nutritionally complete. They include natural proteins, fiber, and healthy fats. More importantly, they eat mindfully. There's no rush, no distraction, just a moment of alignment between body and mind. That alignment is what transforms food from fuel into medicine. Now, I don't mean to suggest that a single breakfast will transform your life overnight. Real change happens gradually through consistency. But I do mean that your morning choices are far more powerful than you think. The body is remarkably forgiving. Even after years of neglect, it responds swiftly to nourishment. Within days of adopting a more balanced morning diet, one centered on natural, unprocessed foods, people report higher energy, steadier moods, and sharper mental clarity. Within weeks, measurable changes appear in blood sugar, cholesterol, and inflammation markers. That's not coincidence, that's biology responding to respect. So the question becomes, what message will you send to your body each morning? Will it be confusion, a quick jolt of caffeine, a sugary pastry, or nothing at all? Or will it be clarity, a deliberate act of feeding life, energy, and resilience into your system. Every morning is a negotiation between decay and renewal. The outcome depends on the choices you make before the day truly begins. When you rise tomorrow, take a moment to reflect on this. Your first meal isn't merely about calories, it's about commitment. Commitment to staying strong, sharp, and fully alive. Feed yourself not just to live, but to live well. That's how strength and vitality return, not through miracle cures or elaborate diets, but through the quiet wisdom of daily care. When we talk about regaining strength and vitality, especially later in life, we're really talking about rebuilding the foundation of the body, and that foundation is made of protein. Every muscle fiber, every enzyme, every hormone, every immune cell is built on this single, elegant building block. Without enough of it, the architecture of health begins to weaken. Slowly at first, then more noticeably as time goes on. Here's the truth: as we age, our bodies become less efficient at using the protein we eat. That means that even if you're eating the same amount you did 20 years ago, your body absorbs and uses less of it for repair and renewal. It's like trying to maintain a house when the materials are being delivered in smaller and smaller quantities. Eventually, the structure starts to show cracks, weaker muscles, slower recovery, a diminished sense of vitality. That's why the morning meal becomes such a strategic opportunity. After an overnight fast, your body is hungry not only for calories, but for raw materials, amino acids that will rebuild tissue, fuel the brain, and stabilize energy levels. When you begin your day with protein-rich whole foods, you give your body what it needs to rebuild rather than merely survive. It's the difference between existing and thriving. Now, let's bring this idea down to the practical level. The best sources of morning protein don't have to be complicated or exotic. A couple of eggs, a bowl of oatmeal topped with nuts, a serving of Greek yogurt, or a smoothie made with milk and seeds. These are simple choices, yet they carry tremendous biological weight. They deliver essential amino acids that trigger something scientists call muscle protein synthesis, the body's natural process of repairing and strengthening muscle tissue. For older adults, this process is the key to maintaining balance, mobility, and independence. It's what allows you to stand up from a chair easily, climb stairs, or carry groceries without fatigue. But this isn't just about muscle. Protein feeds your immune system too. It's what allows your body to create antibodies, repair cells, and recover from illness or injury. Think of it as the maintenance crew for every internal system you have. Without adequate protein, repair slows down, inflammation lingers, and the body begins to operate at a deficit. Over time, that deficit can show up as weakness, slower healing, or even cognitive decline. The beauty of protein is that it's not limited to animal sources. Lentils, tofu, chickpeas, quinoa, chia seeds, and nuts all offer rich plant-based options. In fact, plant proteins bring an added bonus fiber, phytonutrients, and antioxidants that protect cells from oxidative stress. When you combine both animal and plant-based proteins throughout the week, you create a balanced nutritional rhythm, one that supports both physical strength and metabolic health. There's a psychological dimension to this as well. When you choose to eat protein-rich foods in the morning, you're not just nourishing your body, you're setting the tone for discipline and intentionality. You're saying, I'm going to give my body what it truly needs, not just what's convenient or habitual. That single act of awareness, that pause before choosing what to eat, is an act of mastery. It reconnects you to your own agency, reminding you that your health is not something happening to you, but something you participate in every day. I often think of food as a conversation between you and your body. When you eat a refined carbohydrate for breakfast, something sugary, quick, and easy, your body responds with a short burst of energy followed by a crash. It's like a conversation that starts enthusiastically and ends abruptly. But when you eat a balanced, protein-centered meal, the conversation continues. Your body feels supported, your mind feels alert, and your energy sustains itself throughout the morning. That continuity is what defines vitality, not peaks and crashes, but an even current of strength. There's another fascinating layer here: Modern research shows that the timing of protein intake matters. Consuming sufficient protein in the morning, rather than saving most of it for dinner, leads to better muscle preservation and more stable energy throughout the day. This aligns perfectly with what we discussed earlier. The body listens closely to the signals it receives in the morning. By providing protein early, you are literally instructing your body to build, to repair, to grow stronger. It's not just nutrition, it's communication at the cellular level. And yet, this practice also carries a deeper symbolism. Eating protein-rich foods is, in a way, an act of rebuilding identity. As people age, it's common to hear the phrase, "I just don't have the strength I used to." But what if that strength isn't lost, just undernourished? What if, by feeding the body with precision and care, we can rekindle the vigor that once felt natural? That's not fantasy, that's physiology guided by awareness. So, when you sit down to your next breakfast, see it not as a routine, but as a ritual, one that honors your biology and your being. Choose foods that serve your purpose: eggs for resilience, yogurt for balance, seeds for longevity, nuts for brain health. Let that meal become a quiet act of defiance against decline, a declaration that aging does not mean surrender, but evolution. Because ultimately, vitality isn't a matter of youth, it's a matter of nourishment, both of the body and the will. If protein provides the structure, the framework on which strength is built, then nutrients are the life force that animates that structure. They bring color, energy, and vitality into every cell. When we talk about regaining strength in the later years of life, it's not enough to focus solely on calories or even protein. We must look deeper into the quality of the foods we eat, into the microscopic nutrients that drive the body's repair systems, and into the subtle intelligence of food that communicates with our biology. The body is a living network of signals: chemical, electrical, and emotional, and nutrients are its language. When you eat a handful of berries, for instance, you're not just tasting sweetness, you're giving your cells a set of biological instructions. The antioxidants in those berries are telling your body to neutralize oxidative stress, to protect your DNA, to maintain the elasticity of your blood vessels. A banana rich in potassium and magnesium is instructing your muscles and nerves to relax and contract efficiently. Seeds, flax, chia, sunflower, whisper messages to your brain and heart through omega-3 fatty acids, reducing inflammation and improving circulation. Food, in this sense, is not passive fuel, it's information. And yet, most of us have been conditioned to eat reactively, not intentionally. We wait until we're hungry, tired, or emotionally restless, and then we feed the symptom rather than the system. But vitality demands a shift in mindset, from reactive eating to proactive nourishment. When you consciously choose foods that restore rather than deplete, you're taking part in one of the most profound forms of self-healing available to us. I often tell people the goal isn't to eat more, it's to eat better. Quality over quantity. Your body doesn't need large portions, it needs meaningful ones. It needs foods that contribute, not just occupy space. That's the real difference between surviving and thriving. The modern diet has become noisy, full of artificial ingredients, refined sugars, and empty calories that confuse the body. But the foods that promote vitality speak clearly. They're simple, natural, and whole. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, seeds, and nuts. These foods don't just fill you up, they wake you up. There's a fascinating philosophical idea here, one rooted in the ancient understanding of harmony between body and nature. When you eat foods that come directly from the earth, unprocessed and unaltered, you're participating in that harmony. You're aligning your internal systems with the rhythms of life itself. The body recognizes these foods immediately because it evolved alongside them. That's why when you eat nutrient-dense meals, you feel lighter, clearer, and more grounded. The body isn't fighting the food, it's working with it. For older adults especially, nutrient density matters more than ever. As metabolism slows, every calorie must carry more purpose. A handful of blueberries in your oatmeal is not just decoration, it's cellular protection. A drizzle of olive oil over whole grain toast isn't just flavor, it's nourishment for your arteries and brain. The brilliance of the body is that it never stops responding to care. Even in later years, it can repair, adapt, and strengthen when given the right materials. That's a truth modern science continues to confirm, and one that gives tremendous hope. But there's another dimension to this, the psychological renewal that comes from feeding yourself well. When you make the effort to choose foods that restore rather than harm, you're doing more than nourishing your body. You're affirming that your life is still worth investing in. You're declaring, I haven't given up on myself. And that mindset, that quiet decision to care, has measurable effects on health. It reduces stress hormones, improves digestion, and even supports immune function. The mind and body are inseparable in this dance of nourishment. I've met people in their 70s and 80s who tell me they feel more energetic now than they did 20 years ago. Not because of supplements or extreme diets, but because they began to eat with awareness. They started adding colors to their plates. Greens, reds, blues, golds, each representing a different class of phytonutrients working silently within them. Over time, their skin brightened, their thinking sharpened, and their energy became steady. What changed wasn't only their diet, but their relationship with food. They stopped treating it as an afterthought and started treating it as a dialogue with life itself. We must also acknowledge that vitality isn't about restriction, it's about abundance. An abundance of nutrients, of color, of taste, of life. Food should not be feared or forced, it should be celebrated. When you eat well, you're not depriving yourself. You're participating in a form of gratitude. You're thanking your body for carrying you through the years and giving it the respect it deserves to continue doing so. Every choice you make at the table is a statement about how you see yourself and what you believe you're still capable of. The elderly body is not fragile, it's adaptable. It's waiting for cues, for information, for nourishment. And when you supply those nutrients consistently, day after day, the transformation is subtle but powerful. You begin to feel it in your energy, your clarity, your steadiness. So when you prepare your next meal, look at your plate and ask, is this food building me or breaking me down? That single question can transform not just your diet, but your entire outlook on aging and vitality. Because food at its core is not about restriction, indulgence, or even habit. It's about relationship. A relationship with your body, your mind, and the life that still wants to move through you. When we talk about health and vitality, especially in later life, it's tempting to focus on big changes, new diets, new supplements, new routines. But the truth is, real transformation rarely comes from grand gestures. It comes from rhythm, from what we do repeatedly, quietly, day after day. That's why the morning ritual, this daily act of feeding your body, holds such extraordinary power. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. A small, steady act of care that compounds into strength over time. You see, the body thrives on reliability. It's built to respond to patterns. When you nourish it each morning around the same time with foods that speak life into your system, you create biological trust. Your metabolism stabilizes, your hormones balance, your energy becomes predictable and sustainable. And yet, this practice is not purely physical. It's also deeply psychological. Morning routines serve as a kind of internal compass. They remind you that, no matter what happens in the rest of the day, you've already done something good for yourself. You've already chosen growth over decline. There's a quiet dignity in that. Too often, people see self-care as indulgence, but in truth, it's discipline, a gentle form of discipline that nurtures resilience. For older adults, especially, the morning can become a sacred space, a time when the world is still, the mind is uncluttered, and the day's energy hasn't yet scattered. Starting that time with a deliberate ritual, a simple breakfast, a cup of tea, a few moments of reflection, creates a psychological foundation for vitality. It says, I am still here, still engaged in the process of living fully. And let's be honest, change can feel overwhelming at any age. We live in a world obsessed with quick fixes and extreme solutions. But the body doesn't need upheaval, it needs respect. If you can prepare one nourishing meal every morning, something you enjoy, something that gives your body strength, That alone can alter the trajectory of your health. Because small acts done with consistency build momentum. That's the secret of renewal. Not doing everything at once, but doing one thing well, repeatedly. This is why I often encourage people to simplify their approach to food. Don't complicate it with guilt or endless rules. Think instead in terms of rhythm and enjoyment. A piece of whole grain toast with avocado and an egg, a bowl of oatmeal with nuts and fruit, yogurt with honey and seeds. These aren't just meals, they're anchors. They bring structure to your day and reassurance to your biology, and they don't have to take long or cost much. What matters is not the sophistication of the meal, but the sincerity of the habit. The beauty of a morning ritual is that it eventually becomes automatic. What begins as effort turns into identity. You stop thinking, I need to eat better, and start thinking, this is simply who I am now. That shift is powerful. It moves health from the realm of discipline to the realm of self-expression. You're no longer forcing yourself to make good choices, you're naturally drawn to them because they align with how you see yourself. Capable, alive, and deserving of care. There's also something profoundly grounding about preparing food for yourself in the morning. It reestablishes a sense of agency. In a culture where so much feels uncertain or outside our control, this small ritual is a reminder, here is something I can shape. Here is something that begins with me. Even the simple act of cutting fruit, stirring oatmeal, or brewing coffee can be meditative when done with awareness. It's a way of saying good morning not only to the day but to your own body. And as this routine takes hold, something interesting happens. You begin to feel gratitude again. Gratitude for the strength still available to you. Gratitude for the taste of food, the warmth of the sun, the rhythm of breath. Gratitude, after all, is one of the most potent forms of nourishment. It feeds the spirit in ways science is only beginning to measure. And when gratitude infuses your morning ritual, even the simplest meal becomes an act of celebration. I want to be clear? Vitality is not about chasing youth. It's about cultivating aliveness at any age. It's about showing up each morning, not to turn back time, but to meet it with intention. The elderly body, contrary to common belief, is not fragile by default. It's responsive. It's listening. And every morning meal you prepare, every nutrient you provide, every conscious choice you make becomes a message to that body, you are still growing, you are still capable, you are still becoming. So don't wait for the perfect plan or the perfect motivation. Begin where you are. Choose one food that strengthens you, one habit that sustains you, one ritual that reminds you who you are. Let it become your daily promise to yourself, a promise of nourishment, of care, of renewal. Because when you show up for yourself each morning, you're not just eating to survive, you're choosing to thrive. And that choice, that quiet, consistent act, is how you regain strength and vitality one morning at a time,